Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And we're back. So many people are actually realizing that there is a thing called energy healing, energy medicine, crystals that can help you out. And Sheinata Carn is back with us. And we're going to talk about that today, how crystals can actually change your life. Sheinata, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you today, Steve?
Doing fantastic. And even before we talk about anything, I just want to show you at arm's length. What would that be? Can you see it?
That's selenite.
That's selenite. Have it sitting right here.
Yes.
And if I were to get up and take them out of my pocket.
Still here?
Yeah, I'm right here. Can you hear us?
That's selenite stone.
Yeah, that's selenite. And in my pocket, I could take them out and show you, but I have 4 different crystals. I'm not 100% sure what kind they are, but I have them on me. So tell us about crystals, the properties and the healing, and give us some examples of crystals and what they do.
Okay. One of the things that I wanted to start off by talking about crystals is crystals, they come from the earth. They grow in what would be called the second dimension. So that would be they grow under the earth, they come from under the earth. And crystals, they are made up of a variety of different minerals and elements that bond together that create a particular structure in the crystal. And depending on the structure of the crystal, that tells the crystal's ability. And the structure that's usually talked about with crystals is the part that's on the inside, which I find is very interesting because you know how they always say you can't judge a book by the cover. You know what I'm saying? So nature was humans, our first teacher. So when I think about that, I think about the crystal. First of all, I said that is because the crystal, you can't look on the outside of it and tell what it is. You have to interact with it. You have to experience it to kind of fully get the understanding of what it is. And so it teaches us to go within. So crystals have certain types of structures. They have certain types of codes. So if you think about us being the human being more like a computer, and you think about the variety of crystals as codes, they have certain things that are called energy signatures, and it possesses a certain type of frequency. And inside the human being, we're composed of everything that's on the planet. So the particular frequency that my smoky quartz have, it's the frequency inside my body that can recognize that. So when I start working with the smoky quartz, it'll start to slowly activate the code that matches from inside of my being. And so that's why we work with crystals and stones for a certain amount of time. Sometimes we'll work with them to a point where we decide to work with another one, or sometimes we'll give it away, or we'll just lose interest in it. So when that occurs, that means that we have fully activated the code that is identical to the code that the crystal has, and we can actually operate from that energy with our own will now. So I said all that to say crystals, they activate things that are already inside us, but these things are dormant and there's certain codes. And so when we work with different types of crystals and stones, it activates those codes and it brings us to a sense of remembering that we have that energy inside of us, or that we can access that energy to manifest the things that we want to manifest in our life.
So Sheinata, if I had 2 rose quartzes in front of me right now, are you saying that even though they're the same type of stone, their individual properties are very different? That's what you meant by going to the inside of it. What's coming out of it, the energy, vibration? Yeah,
so they would be very similar in energy, but depending on how depending on how the stone is cut, depending on what part of the lattice of the crystal that the stone came off of, it would possess certain types of energy. And we are naturally attracted to the crystal that we need to work with. Or somehow something like the crystals that you received as gifts, you received them as gifts, not by coincidence, but because of something that we can't see. It's a certain type of energy that the crystal may possess that you can use to help you move forward in your life. Like the selenite, for instance, I'm gonna go back to the tarot card reading. at the reading, you were working on something big. And you also talked about, we saw that Queen of Cups, and that was talking about your intuition. Well, the selenite deals with ascended masters, and the selenite deals with like angels that we can work with that help guide us. So the selenite to me is a perfect gift and a perfect stone for you to work with as you further your goals with whatever it is you're doing in the future, because the selenite deals with the intuition too. So it'll help heighten it. So it wasn't a coincidence that you got that gift and you moving forward in this project, and it's going to assist you. But these are some of the things that happen in the unseen world that baffles a lot of people who don't really understand the nature of how crystals work. But it's something that occurs on the unseen level.
I have to share with you and validate what you just said, because the person that gave me the selenite, and also, hang on one sec, these crystals, and I'm not even sure if you're not going to be able to see them too clearly on the Zoom, but that person gave them to me, all of that, for my birthday 2 weeks ago.
Well, that
and with the say again.
I'll wait till you finish.
You cut out a little bit, or I didn't hear it clear.
Okay, I was wondering, was that Yellowstone? Is that selenite or topaz?
This is not selenite, and I don't know if you can see
Not
that.
selenite, citrine.
Citrine? Yeah. But the thing is, the intention of what this person gave those to me was exactly what you said. And that's to prosper and do well and get abundance and succeed, move forward. That's their intention. I don't believe they heard your tarot card reading. So the whole thing kind of ties in.
Yeah, and that's the stuff I'm talking about, the unseen. And then you said abundance. That's the reason I was asking you what that is, citrine stone, because citrine deals with abundance. It deals with our solar plexus and our will. So that'll give you the energy once again to move forward in this project, because citrine works with those type of energies. So they just gave you a whole bunch of stuff just to move you forward in what it is you're manifesting.
All right, I'm going to ask you a question. I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
With the selenite and the stones, they also gave me this, and I forget what it's called and all the properties. I'm going to show it to you. I'm trying to describe what that is. I don't know if you can see it. I think it's a Chinese symbol or something. I know it's not coming too clear if you're seeing it there on the Zoom.
Yeah, what is it a symbol of? What is it? Is it an animal?
It's looks like a man or a sorcerer, and he's got 1, 2, 3, 4 arms and then 2 legs.
That's Ganesh. That's the removal of obstacles. Wow, they gave you a whole set of stuff just to move forward. Ganesh is the removal of obstacles. Ganesh comes from Indian culture. And I found that interesting that they gave you a bunch of stones and a fetish, because fetishes are used basically for the same type of reasons that stones are used. Because fetishes have a certain type of meaning. And ultimately that deity, Ganesh, it removes obstacles that are in your way. So that's kind of dealing with archetypal energy, but all of these things deal with archetypal energy too.
I find this fascinating. I really do. And they didn't really know what my goals are. They just gave it to me. And I'm sure didn't, like I said, hear your tarot reading that talked about, as an example, things moving forward for me, maybe career-wise or whatever. How interesting. I think my challenge and a lot of our challenges are knowing what stone does, what each individual stone represents. And I'm sure you can look it on the internet, but you always wonder if it's actually accurate or not.
A good way you can tell that it's accurate. So basically, particularly the colors of the stones is what will tell us what chakra the stones work with. So the stones are connected to our chakras. So each chakra, which are energy centers that move up our body, and the chakras, they actually connect us to our galactic consciousness. So it's taking us even off the planet, the chakras. But first we got to clear them, and we can work with chakras. We can clear chakras by using the crystals and stones. Like for instance, this is a carnelian stone. And this stone deals with the sacral chakra. It also deals with the heart. So in order to work with it, you would carry it around with you. You would actually lay it on your sacral chakra and meditate with it there for about 10 minutes. And I always tell people to try and do and work with stones in this way, because when you work with them, you will get some type of feeling or some type of vibration, or you notice different thoughts that are coming about. And that's how you can know that, you actually interacted with the stone, something is happening. Sometimes when it's activating that particular core within you, you'll get certain kind of feelings. But in order to identify what chakras the stone works with, you would just focus on the colors. And
I want to make sure. I'm sorry.
I think that it's really good to just be attracted to a stone and pick it up and then find out what it's working for, because then it'll already get your mind to going, why was I attracted to this?
So would you say that we should go to a metaphysical store and just see all of them in front of us, maybe pick each individual one up from, pick a bunch of them and see what radiates, see what you feel from each stone. And that's how you decide which one you should be picking or buying?
I feel like you don't necessarily have to pick up the every one of them, because it's all connected to the unseen and the invisible. So you will naturally be attracted to it.
Okay.
It can be 10 stones on the table. You naturally attracted to this yellow stone. And so that's how you will know, because see, that's your intuition, and that's different parts of yourself that the crystals and stones help you to get to know, that's already starting to work. So you will naturally be drawn to certain ones.
Interesting. Well, you know what, Sheinata, that's a testament to energy. That's the energy is drawing you in, right?
Yeah.
When did this begin for you? Like, where did you come up with a passion for crystals?
Well, I have two businesses. So I was first an African jewelry designer. And so I did that for 16 years. Now I just sell my jewelry in museums. But I live in Charleston, South Carolina. So it's lots of tourists here, and I had a good spot downtown. So I was always busy. So I started to go into these gem and mineral shows to get some of my African beads. And at these gem and mineral shows up in the Smoky Mountains, it was, tons of people selling stones and crystals. And so I had been picking up stones and crystals for about 5 to 6 years before I actually started working with them. But that's the thing, we do things that we don't realize until later on. So I kept picking them up and getting stones and crystals. And getting stones and crystals. I just thought about it because this story is going to get a little freaky in a minute, but I'm going to tell it.
Go.
Because I'm like, shit. Okay. So I kept picking them up. And then I bought a book about crystals and stones. And so this time when we went to the gem and mineral show, my son and my mother would always go with me. So I had done got the beads for the jewelry that I was going to be making, or whatever collection I was making next. And we was outside at the tents picking up crystals and stones. Well, for some reason, I wanted to get a wand. And the wand has all the different colors of, it's the crystal wand, and it has it's double terminated, so they got a crystal on each end. But in the middle of the wand is the 7 colors for the 7 chakras. And so a wand like that, you can put it over the person's body and you can feel which chakra is out of balance. And so I was looking for that. And I remember looking down on the table at a bunch of wands. And when I looked up, I seen this mermaid that is made of metal, that is a candle holder. And it's about this big. And I was like, wow, that is beautiful. And it attracted me. And I told the guy, I said, forget about these wands, I'm getting this. So I bought the mermaid. And I remember when I came home, I had also bought my husband a stone. So I had the mermaid and the stone sitting on the counter in my kitchen next to each other. I remember walking by and saying to myself, I wonder what chakras that stone works for. And then I heard it works for the root chakra to the crown. And I looked at the crystal. I looked at that crystal I bought for him and the mermaid. And I said, who said that? Because I was kind of already into this invisible world growing up in Charleston. So I was like, who said that? And the mermaid was like, I said it, talking to me telepathically. Well, I was like, oh, okay. So I go to bed that night. This mermaid comes in my dream. Starts like a little glimmer, and the light keeps getting bigger. And then all of a sudden it turns into the mermaid. I recognize this is the mermaid. And the mermaid wanted me to go with her in the dream. So I grabbed her hand. Well, the mermaid took me to Sirius, the planet, Sirius. And it was Isis. She identified herself to be Isis. She took me to Sirius. She took me there because we have like earthly parents, and we have an earthly family, but we also have a cosmic family. So one of my cosmic families is Syrians from the planet Sirius.
Did you know that? Did you know that
Huh?
before? Or you just
No,
found that
I
out?
found this out when I took the trip with the mermaid.
Gotcha.
And so I found that out. And so I met a father there. I met some of my family. And I got a lot of stories about that room. I don't know if you ever talk about it, but they're interesting. So then I came back, in the astral projection back in my body. Well, the next day when I woke up, I told my oldest son, I said, all of a sudden I woke up the next day with saying I was doing a chakra alignment. I wanted to do a chakra alignment. I really needed to do a chakra alignment. And so my son, he's a really intelligent guy. And I told my son, I said, well, how long should I do this chakra alignment? And he said, Mom, it's 7 chakras. Do them 3 minutes a piece. Do it for 21 minutes. And I did the chart. I set the crystals on me. I set my clock for 21 minutes, my phone. And at the exact moment that the alarm went off for the 21 minutes, I did like a big release and started crying. And that convinced me. I was like, no, it's no way that it could be a coincidence that this alarm can go off and I could like do a release like that. So after I did that, I was pretty much convinced that I needed to go down the path to learn more about these crystals and stones and what they could do and how they could help me create a better life for myself.
When you had that whole experience, were you freaked out, or did it just seem kind of natural?
No, I wasn't freaked out. No, I got so many stories like that I could tell people. No, that was my first experience, but yet I wasn't freaked out. For some reason, I was not freaked out.
Wow. Interesting. I guess the dream I wouldn't be. What would probably freak me out a little bit is hearing the voice and telepathically sent from the statue, the mermaid.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was like, who said that? And it was the mermaid. I was like, whoa, you talk or whatever. When the mermaid did that, I knew that something very interesting was getting ready to happen in my life. But you would have to get to know me to know what kind of person I am. But those type of things are very interesting. I have Mars in the 12th house. Mars in the 12th house likes mystery, likes investigations, likes putting things together and stuff like that. So those kind of things are really interesting to me. So it didn't scare me.
So that's part of your birthday. That's how you figure out, Mars.
My birth chart. Mm-hmm.
Your birth chart. Okay. That's the one thing I never could grasp. Those things like Mars in the 12th house or all of that. I've had my birth chart done a few times, and I can't even remember, like you can, where your sign is and what direction it, all of that. That's why
it comes in handy when you get the new and full moons and you get the transit of the planets. Because when the planets move into certain houses, they activate something in your birth chart. And your birth chart is actually your psychological book of your life. Because everything that's in the birth chart, it tells how you think. It tells what you're more attracted to. And it tells you the things you got to overcome in order to reach your highest possible self. So it's really good, and that's good that you already have it.
Yeah, I just got to look back on it. But, somebody told me that the way to look at it, astrology, is not that it's a fortune teller, but it's a timeline of your life. And certain things will happen in that timeline, but because of the alignment of the planets and everything else involved, that it's able to pinpoint certain things, in your future and tell you what could happen.
Yes, particularly the part in your chart, the part of fortune. This is the one that tells
Mm.
that part of fortune. And the part of fortune is actually an asteroid that appears certain places in our chart.
Well, interestingly, a astrologer had read me last year, um, and said, coming up in about 7 months, you're going to have an experience that's going to bring more abundance. And I have to tell you, it was completely on target. Right at the same time, things had changed, and she was absolutely right. And she said some other things too. They were accurate. She said, look on your chart. See that quadrant down at the bottom and those three icons? I'm like, yeah. She goes, yeah, that's your kids. And she even told me, your son is the middle one. There's no way she would have known that. She'd have to do I don't even think she'd find that on Facebook.
Yeah, and this is stuff that's interesting with the crystals and the stones
Sure.
and the tarot and astrology. It helps us to really gain a deeper understanding of our life and why we are here, and what we really are. Because we just usually, like the majority of person, they live their life just touching the little tip of the iceberg. And there's so much more, but we got to open up to these things. Like if we ever go back and talk about the tarot cards, I can like pull my deck out and show people how many Christian references is in the tarot and how it was originally a pope in the tarot. Wow. How these things were there and these things were taken out. But being that they were there, that shows you that they were very powerful to help people learn about their life, many, many years ago.
So we have literally like 2 minutes left. When it comes to tarot cards and you pull the card, where's the energy coming to select that card? Is it if you're working with somebody that their energy goes out to you and kind of guides you into picking that particular card?
Yeah, it's something that happens when I'm going into a tarot reading. I connect to a particular frequency, and the person who I'm doing the reading for, they give their free will to do the reading. So when they give their free will for me to do the reading with them through the frequency that I am operating on, I connect with the unconscious mind, because your unconscious mind knows your whole life story.
Yep.
And this is something that happens in the invisible and it baffles people, but I'm actually connecting with your unconscious mind. That's how people can go to tarot card readers and find out where something is lost. They know where they put it at, but the tarot card reader can tap into their unconscious mind. And so it's like whatever the tarot card reader is telling you, I'm actually tapping into your unconscious, your subconscious, to get that information.
See, I had no idea that that's the way it worked. I thought it was more of you just give energy and that's what does it. But yeah, we have the answers inside of us. We just can't pull them out unless you try different things or modalities like tarot card readings or even hypnotherapy, to get into your subconscious. So if somebody wants to work with you, Sheinata, where do they go? Where do they find you?
They can find me at crystalmedicinehealing.wordpress.com. You can book a reading with me or a service. You can also email me with any questions at crystalmedicinehealing@gmail.com.
Yeah, and I have to say for everybody here watching or listening that she's spot on. Your tarot card reading that you did last time we got together, it was like you kept nailing it. And I was like,
and there's one other thing I wanted to tell you. It's before we finish, it's one thing for Mercury retrograde. If you know the person and it's the Mercury retrograde, like you said, you knew the lady like 20 some years.
No, not this one. Are you talking about the one that gave me the stones and the crystals?
Oh, so you didn't know. Oh, I thought it was the person that you were getting ready to go into the project with.
No, but yes, you have a great memory. It wasn't that person giving it to me. It was somebody else. But the person I'm going to work with, I've known for a lot of years. But interestingly, the person that gave it to me didn't know that I'm working on that project. He just gave it to me,
wow.
for abundance and to move forward and things like that. So that makes it even. And again, I'm sure didn't hear that reading that day that you did that talked about that. So it's almost like everything, the puzzle pieces all went together for that. Fascinating
Yeah,
stuff.
the Mercury retrograde, the exception with Mercury retrograde is if you know the person, then you can start something new. You can start something. You can go further if you know the person. They have to be somebody you knew from the past. That's the one exception to starting things in the Mercury retrograde.
Yeah. Exception. Thank you very much, because you're not supposed to start anything new until it's over. Sheinata, great talking with you and learned so much. You really do know your stuff when it comes to metaphysical things like tarot and crystals. And I look forward to getting together next time with you.
Okay, thank you.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.